My name is Paul Walde. I'm the curator of Fictive Realities. I'm an artist and curator based in Victoria, British Columbia. The director of the gallery here at Richmond approached me about putting together a show that could deal with some of these issues. And I put together a couple of proposals, and one of them was this idea of fictive realities and the idea of using fiction or thinking about realities as constructions. And so I wanted to find artists that could deal with that in different ways. And so, Peter Morin dealing with First Nations traditional storytelling, Doug Jarvis's dedication and use of new technologies was particularly interesting to me. Steve's piece I already had in mind because it's working in that way, very sort of phenomenologically. It sort of breaks apart an image into 3 dimensions, and then you get to see it put together, but then you also get to see it blown apart. And then there's this point in which you're not sure what you're looking at. When you're looking at the installation, you don't necessarily know that it's the image that's on the screen in the other room. And so when you see these things come together, it kind of messes with you in a way, in the way you think about your own perception. And then you start maybe wondering, what other things happened in my own reality where I make these kind of mistakes. And then Michelle Gay's piece is reconstituting an ancient text and retranslating it using a computer program. And Michelle's an artist that I work with in the Walde Festival and brought her work out into the public. So she's someone who I really enjoy working with, and she's doing really fascinating work that's dealing with these technologies. So it was really this way of bringing these things together in as many ways as I could. And then I thought, well, if I'm going to deal with fiction, I should really invite a writer and someone who works with text all the time. And that's really how Henderson came on board. There wasn't really a formula in choosing the artists. It's finding the work and finding artists that could work in this way around this particular theme. And in the end, things, there's connections that I didn't expect in the work, but that are there. And so I think those shows really come together and has coalesced in a really interesting way. And for me as a curator, I really like to work with artists who are making new work. I'm an artist, so I can really appreciate the creative process, and I like to work with artists in the creative process in developing new work. So it's often very challenging to curate this way, but it's also very rewarding as well. So I'm really pleased with the way things work out.
So my name is Michelle Gay, and I'm an artist that lives and works in Toronto. And the piece that I have in the show here at Fictive Realities is called On What Is, and it's a new piece hot off the press. So the piece On What Is based on the Parmenides fragments, which are fragments of text from 400 BC. Parmenides was a metaphysicist in 400 BC, and he was the first kind of philosopher, thinker, trying to grapple with the idea of what it means to be a human, and what reality is. So of course it slid nicely with the fictive realities in a number of ways, which I'll tell you in a second. So the text is 150 lines, so that's all that's left from 400 BC, and it came through us from 400 to 2013 through people like Plato and Aristotle and a long series of kind of oral tradition philosophers that would debate those ideas about what it is to be. And then in 2013, the On What Is version is using, maybe I could call him Confucius. It's a software that was developed by my brilliant brother, Colin Gay, who's a physicist, and we've collaborated on many pieces together. So it's software running behind the scenes, grappling with the text, word by word, line by line. And what it's doing is dynamically selecting a word out of a given kind of sentence and going to a thesaurus, picking a word randomly, and then putting it back into the text. So it's a constant adjustment of of the old text. So it's kind of a new version that's being presented, but it's very ephemeral. It's never printed. So in that kind of oral tradition, like the pre-Socratic guys, it may come up with some really good ideas about what it means to be human. We may know, or we may see it, we may not see it in the gallery. But basically that's the piece. And it just runs and runs and runs until we turn it off.
My name is Henderson. Right now I live in Victoria on the island, and the title of my piece is The Rockford Files. It began basically with me having a little baby boy in the beginning of May, and 5 days after he was born, that very strange Rob Ford scandal broke in Toronto and on Gawker and on the media and in Toronto Star. And I had about, in that month of May, every day I'd have these little 5-minute intervals when I could do something other than take care of a little infant. And so I was becoming just obsessed with the Rob Ford scandal, the absurdities of it, the incredible kind of media circus around it, the personalities that seemed to come out of it. It was fascinating for me. So I would status update on Facebook all the time about it, and I'd wake up at 3 in the morning to change a diaper, and all of a sudden I'd get some weird whacked out idea about what was happening in the story, and I would speculate. So that went on for far too long. People started laughing at me on Facebook, and other people would ask me to become their friend so they could keep up with my updates. It got pretty absurd. And then at some point, Paul contacted me, and he was like, "So what are you going to do for the show?" And I honestly had been changing more diapers than thinking about it. And he approached me and was like, "What we should do for the show is compile all those status updates and turn it into something," which seemed like a kind of a crazy and good idea, unexpected. So the result was basically the curator coming to me and suggesting that this strange creative thing that I was doing in May to keep myself occupied become the project. So it was very organic and very surprising for me to turn this into an art project. But in that way, I guess it feels pretty honest, because I didn't even expect it to become art. But it was definitely the way I was getting my normally I'm writing novels, so this was like my little mini novel. So I turned it into, he suggested even that I turn it into a book, hardcover book with a dust jacket and everything, make it look really official. And it's really just the text copy and pasted from Facebook into a book format.
My name's Doug Jarvis. I'm an artist and curator living in Victoria, British Columbia. The title of my work is Gut Reactions Belly Brain Live Feed. Gut Reactions is a series of projects exploring the belly brain. Now, the belly brain is considered to be a second brain inside the body. It's a concentration of brain cells and neurons in our digestive system. It's interesting for me that we would have another part of our body that could think. And of course, the science and the research that I've read talks about the belly brain as being not so much of a thinking brain, but more of an emotional brain. And so it really ties into things that we think of such as gut reactions, hence the title of my piece, and intuition, and like a feeling in your stomach. I've been doing some performance actions where I do different things to my stomach, kind of activating it as a belly brain, exploring intuition. And then in this exhibition, I've kind of taken a little bit of a different approach, using a sculptural element and then some videos. So what I've got is a large kind of sculpture that's in the shape of a spiral, kind of implying motion and movement. And then collected around that, I've got 4 different video monitors, and each one is displaying a different video. One has me eating, one has kind of a video of my stomach area, and then another one is a live feed into the space so that the audience members looking at the sculpture kind of become reflected and implicated into the work. And then another one is a live broadcast that I will be controlling from my computer or my cell phone from other parts, like in Victoria when I'm at home. So during the exhibition, all of these 4 video monitors will be displaying the different kind of content, and then with me adding live content as it goes along. What I like about exhibiting works in galleries is that I present some of my ideas and the things that I like to play with to an audience, so that anyone coming to see it can kind of take something away. And with this piece in particular, I'm exploring the belly brain, but what I like is that everybody, all the humans experiencing the work, have their own belly brains. And so in some ways, what I would like you to take away is your own curiosity about your own belly brain, so that you've experienced my work and how I'm kind of approaching it for myself, but that you can go away and at home or with your friends kind of talk about it and, you know, see how it feels for you to have a belly brain.
My name is Steve Lyons. I'm an artist living in Montreal, and the work in this exhibition is titled Flat Earth Manifesto. So for this project, I am interrogating a very particular history of a town, a utopian commune called Zion City, Illinois, that was founded in 1901 by a guy named John Alexander Dowie, but taken over by a more interesting character named Wilbur Glenn Voliva in 1905. And Wilbur Glenn Voliva was a very eccentric character. He was kind of a wild preacher and kind of a terrorist in his own right. And he was a firm believer in that the earth was flat. And so there's something silly about this history, and there's something extremely eccentric. And what actually drew me to it is the way in which Wilbur Glenn Voliva rooted his refutations of modern science, or even of ancient science, which views the Earth as a globe, by throwing back another scientific model at this history. The idea behind this project was to use that very model, a one-point, basically a one-point perspective, or a cyclops, you know, a one eye, to use that against itself to create something irrational and weird. And so the components of this exhibition installation are the installation behind me, which is basically a fragmented and sort of a dispersed reproduction of historical photograph, a live feed to a video monitor, which presents that assemblage from a perspective that kind of reconcretizes it, reforms it into a still static image, as well as a series of documents related to Wilbur Glenn Voliva's view of the flat Earth. Yeah.
My name is Peter Morin. I'm from the Tahltan Nation of Telegraph Creek, BC. Tahltan Nation is northern First Nations. I live in Victoria. Currently, I live in Victoria. My mom is Janelle Craig. She's from the Crow clan, and our society, our nation is organized matrilineally. So I'm also from the Crow clan. My father is Pierre Morin. He's French-Canadian from Thetford Mines, Quebec. The dark matter piece specifically refers to two things and finds its origin in ideas around science fiction or alternative ways of understanding the universe. There's a story about darkness, and the world is in darkness, and the crow finds the light. He finds the light in a man has the light, a family, actually. And what happens is, when it's time, the crow steals the light and gives it to the world. in my conceptualization of the story, and in my application of Taltan ways of knowing, the story itself doesn't end. So the man still exists. But what does he keep now? He keeps the dark. And so what I've produced for this exhibition is a reference to this darkness that the man keeps. It's the dark matter of the universe. And in many science fictions, you have people who are engaging with this thing called dark matter, which, you know, is a collapsing of the universe and all-powerful, and the application of dark matter, you know, dramatically shifts the future of the world or the future of the universe. So I've created what you'll see is 4 drums, which are portals to the dark matter. And Taltan Robot is a future device. The implication is Taltan people exist and have still been producing knowledge and experience and designing robots. So what you have in the exhibition is a box made out of elk hide, and viewers are invited to participate in the installation by putting their head, you know, putting the helmet, the Taltan robot helmet on, and making motion or making sounds as they wish. Will Taltan robot, the question really is, will Taltan robot help you see the land better? Will Taltan robot help you see who you are in relationship to this land better? Because there seems to be a bit of freedom in fictive realities, which is nice.